Hello everyone, Brett Settles from Revisto here, and we're jumping into another learning session today where we're going to be talking about metadata and how that affects your dashboarding. Because we have a lot of clients that take advantage of metadata, but I don't really see it bleeding into dashboarding, and we have a lot of clients that are using dashboarding and maybe are not using all of the available metadata to help them get more specific. So we're going to cover some of those things today. Now, first of all, metadata in our product is tied mostly to issues, although we do have custom properties and objects. When we use the term metadata, we're talking about the issue connected to, or the data connected to the issue. In every situation, there are multiple types of metadata associated with an issue. And we'll just go through a few examples here. If I'm looking at a clash, one of the things that I can see about this clash is that if I expand this, I can see categories, discipline, source file, all of this information coming from the clash itself. And then also, all of the metadata associated with the Revisto tools is also metadata that can be used in dashboarding and reporting. Everything from status, priority, deadline, created, assignee, reporter, watchers, if that issue is public or not, and any sort of tags that we may put in here. Now, I'll get to tags in a little bit when we start talking about stamp metadata, but also if that issue is connected to an RFI or not. And that is just what is going out around with the clash data. We can tell what test this comes from, what grid intersection it's at, and we'll talk about that when we get to the dashboarding and reporting as to how to highlight that when we actually report on these issues. Now, jumping into a general 3D view, if we start to look at the way manual issues are found, whether they're coordination issues or issues on a drawing, this behaves the same way. As we come through the model here and we start to identify certain issues, we're going to see that we can choose a stamp. Now, underneath these stamp categories, which you see here, you'll see individual stamps. Now, this is a big part of how we report, and we've even gone so far to incorporate stamp templates into Revisto 5.4 Clash Sync, as this is one of our most popular features. So explaining this, I feel like, is a really valuable thing to anybody who doesn't fully utilize it. If I go to Manage Stamps, this is where everything is put together. And what I can do is I can create new categories, or I can create new stamps. Every one of these items that you see here is a category. And that is a piece of metadata that can be used. When I get into reporting, I can report on BIM issues as a category, construction issues as a category, facilities management, site reporting, can all be reported on at that upper level that contains every stamp that falls into that category. In addition to that, the stamp abbreviation is the second tier of metadata that is associated with reporting from stamps, as we can not only report on the main category, but we can also report on each one of these individual stamps. So we can see what type of construction issues do we have, and what types of those issues relate to steel or substructure, cores and superstructure, block work, panels, facade, dry lining and plasterboard, even decorations, fit outs and signage. So anything that goes under construction, we can also report on individual ones here. Now, as we jump into the actual makeup of the stamp, over to the right, you'll see where we template this out. We can say what color the stamp needs to be, modify its abbreviation, give that type of issue a title, preset any sort of priority that we may need, as well as assign this to a specific person. So if we know that Greg Keller is to receive all of these issues, we can make sure that anytime that stamp is placed, not only is it automatically reported on, but it's also communicated to Greg. Watchers is where we can add people that need to be aware of the information but aren't necessarily the ones responsible for solving it. So I can say David Ray and David Gomez need to be copied on these issues anytime someone finds a model issue. We can determine with the stamp if that is a public or private issue, which determines who can see it in reporting depending on our reporting settings. And then we also have the final level of issue metadata, which would be tags. Now, tags are interesting because what we see them used most for are things that are encompassing of all the different categories, but have to do with goals, milestones, coordination, design review type meetings, so that we can recall what these issues were worked on or when these issues were worked on. Now, we can set those here, but a lot of the times we see tags being tagged to different elements based on a certain criteria. If I go to edit these tags, you'll see that I can add coordination meeting dates or any of these other tags that we have pre-populated in here. So if we know one of the popular tag that can go with stamps is what area of the project it's in. But most of the time we see these added for coordination meetings or items that have to be finished by 100% DD or 100% CD. But these tags are that final piece of metadata. In this situation, I'm not going to add a tag to the model issue because I want those tags to be used in those specific circumstances to where we need to add that additional piece of metadata. Now, as I go back and we go all the way back into the issue tracker, another thing that's really important about this metadata is the ability to use it in filters. If you notice, when I create custom filters, this is where I can choose any of the different types of metadata that we bring in, whether it be with our issue, with the stamps that we've created, or with clash tests. So down here you can actually see all the individual clash tests that have been synchronized with the project, or any of the issues that happen or that happen at certain grid intersections. As you can see, I can narrow that down by grid intersection. By RFI. So what is an RFI connected to Procore at this moment? All of this metadata is very important to getting the most out of Revisto. In this situation, we can actually go to Stamp Category, and here I can see all of my types. I can click on Construction, and now I can see that I've narrowed it down to the 96 issues that deal directly with the construction category. And I can even save this filter if I want to and standardize the way people find issues inside of the software. As I create that, you'll see that now construction is a filter that I can simply choose, and I can share that out with the rest of the team. As I click on this, I can see what did we talk about in the coordination meeting, which was a filter that was used and created via a tag, or anything that has to do with ductwork or architectural open issues that are all based off this metadata that we've been talking about. To take that a step further into reporting, this is very important here as well. As I log into the workspace of Revisto, what I'm going to find is that many of these pieces of metadata that we put into place with our clash tests and our stamp templates is all relevant here. As I create a new dashboard, I can name what I want this dashboard to be. So here I'm going to say learning session. And I can choose if I want this to be public issues only or public and private issues, depending on if you're keeping any issues from the general public of the project from seeing. I can say public issues, and I'm going to give this to everybody on the project team. Whenever I save this, it creates a new dashboard where I can then begin to create charts that show me the type of data that I want to see, and even further turn those charts into weekly automated reports. As I add a new chart here, I'm going to say issues per user. We're going to turn this into a bar chart, and we're not going to show any users that don't have any current issues. As I come down here, I'm going to want to see who the assignee is, And now I want to make sure that I see what the status of their current issues are for many different reasons. Who has the biggest workload? Can I shift some of this workload onto some of the other teammates? Or is someone just not keeping up with their work? And is there a reason why? And figure out how to get that person back on the right track. As I come down and filter issues, this is where I can look for various pieces of metadata that we talked about in the first part of the meeting. And so I can come through here and say, all right, I only want to see everything of a certain stamp category, and I want to see the construction issues. And as you can see, it narrows my list down even further. And we can get very specific about the data that we want to see here based on that issue metadata, or we can be very simple about it. Once I'm finished, I can choose to save that, and that issue per user is now a data visualization that happens on the workspace of Revisto. And if I want to take it even a step further, this is where I can actually choose a scheduled delivery, choose how often I want to deliver this report, and on what days of the week I want to deliver this report. So we can say Monday, we'll go with 7 a.m., and I want to say that I want a PDF report of the chart, and I want every single issue detailed out in that report. And I can choose to include company logos, any of the commentary, and make sure that the screenshots are bigger. But I'm going to leave out updates so that we don't see all of the ball-changing court scenarios or updated screenshots from the clash test or anything like that. We can choose how we want to order these, by what sheet they're listed on, status, assignee. We'll say status and ascending so that we start at the most highest priority issues and work our way down. We can also say and add another criteria for priority. So now we're looking at status and priority in the reporting, and then we simply add a date format and a time format, and who should receive this. It can be multiple people as well. So if we want to include multiple individuals that receive this report every week, we can do that and say okay. And now we've scheduled not only the data visualization to go out, but also 2 specific people with all of the issues detailed out that are included in here. And if we ever need to send this outside of its scheduled time frame, we can go to Send Now, choose PDF with issues, and actually send that out to those individuals right then and there. At this point, what you'll see is that in their email, they will receive a notification as I go here. And now we're going to see a report go through here very soon. And now we'll go ahead and click on the PDF report to open that. And here we can see the company logo, thumbnail of the project, all of the open, in progress, solved, and closed issues across the team. And now we can see that individual makeup of what issues are we talking about in this graph. And we can see that we've added the clash grid X and Y, what test it resolves from, the level, as well as the sheet if there is a sheet reference. And we can actually see all of the changes made to that issue throughout the lifespan of that. And then, as you can see, other issues in the project with that same information. And this can be as detailed or as not detailed as needed. And it's a great way to reduce a lot of the manual labor that comes from getting these reports out. Thank you to everyone for joining me today. Hopefully you were able to get some valuable information about Revisto and how it works out of this session. And as more learning sessions come out this year, we'd be happy for you to join us. Thank you very much.